Hi, in this lesson we'll be considering the transport system in plants and animals. And at the end of this lesson you should be able to know the need for transport, the transport system in plants and the transport system in animals. Talking about plants, we'll be talking about the cambium, the xylem and the phloem. And talking about animals, we're talking about the blood vessels and the blood cells. We'll also be treating a few questions and then you'll be getting some advisory on how to answer other questions that may come your way during your examination. See you as we move on. Now, transport system is the way substances are moved or circulated around the body to supply a need or to remove unwanted substances. Now, why do living organisms need a transport system? Majorly, transport system is needed in higher organisms for two reasons. Number one, they have a low surface area to volume ratio. That means plenty of substance in very small space. So they need something to take away the substance that they don't want and to bring in the substance that are needed to enable them to perform their functions optimally. And secondly, the substances have to move great distance. They can't just diffuse in and diffuse out as with lower organisms. For instance, food that is in the intestine that has to get to the liver needs a transport system to take it through to that place, to the liver. And waste that has to be removed from the liver to the kidney need a transport system to take it also to the kidney. Those are the reasons transport systems are needed in high organisms. Now let's talk about the structure of the heart. The heart is the major organ responsible for transport in the body of animals, especially as it pumps blood out into areas of the body that need blood to receive their nutrients. Now the heart is structured in a way that is structured into four chambers. We have the left auricle and the right auricle. And then we also have the left ventricle and the right ventricle, especially in mammals as higher animals. The auricles send blood out of the heart to other parts of the body, while the ventricles receive blood from other parts of the body. Now there are some structures called valves within the heart that allows the heart to either receive blood or send out blood at any given time. The heart does not perform both functions simultaneously. Now we'll be moving to types of circulation. We have open circulation and closed circulation. Then we also have pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. In open circulation, we're going to open circulation and closed circulation. In open circulation, blood moves out of the heart and goes directly into other body parts without the use of blood vessels. You can see this mode of circulation in small, simple animals. For example, the earthworms and insects, where blood moves into open spaces known as hemocells. Now, in closed circulation, blood does not just diffuse into the body parts, but makes use of what we know as blood vessels. That's the arteries, the veins, and the capillaries. We will get back to that later. We're also going to talk about pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. Pulmonary circulation deals with two organs, the heart and the lungs only. In pulmonary circulation, the heart, that is the right part of the heart, the right auricle and the right ventricle. Now, the right auricle sends blood to the lungs for it to be oxygenated, while the right ventricle receives oxygenated blood from the lungs. But in systemic circulation, it deals with the heart and other parts of the body. So after blood has been oxygenated, it is moved to the left auricle and transported to other parts of the body. And the used or spent blood is now transported back to the heart through the left ventricle. And let us talk about the blood vessels. We have 3 blood vessels: the arteries, the veins, and the capillaries. The arteries send blood out of the heart to other parts of the body, while the veins receive blood into the heart. Now, the capillaries are small, minute vessels that have the ability to enter deep areas of the body, and it is through the capillaries that blood is diffused out or waste products are received into the blood. So the capillaries are more like small streets between 2 major roads. I guess you remember it better like that. The capillaries receive those minute substances into the blood before moving them to the major blood vessels. Now, if you want to look at the structure of the arteries has thick muscular walls, and this is as a result of the high pressure at which blood is pumped out of the heart. Now, this is to make sure that the arteries don't burst. The arteries also have valves, which also perform the same function of regulating the movement of blood out of the heart. Then we have the veins. The veins are thinner walled because blood comes in slower than it moves out, as blood moves into the heart at a lower pressure. So the vein has thinner walls and does not contain valves. The capillaries are much more thinner than the arteries or the vein, and they are very, very small so that they can move into every part of the body. So if you injure yourself, for instance, the blood you see is most likely coming from your injured or burst capillaries, and not the arteries or the vein, except for deep injuries, by the way. Another thing I would like you to know about is that the arteries send out oxygenated blood apart from the pulmonary arteries. The pulmonary arteries, on the other hand, send out the oxygenated blood from the right auricle into the lungs for it to be oxygenated, while the veins bring into the heart the oxygenated blood apart from the pulmonary vein. As you should know now, that term pulmonary refers to the lungs. Now, the pulmonary vein brings into the heart oxygenated blood from the lungs. Now we are going to move down to the composition and function of blood. Like I said earlier, blood is the major tissue responsible for transporting materials within the body. Blood is a tissue, meaning it's a collection of cells, and blood is a liquid tissue. Blood has 2 parts. It has the liquid part, which is the plasma, and the cells within it. Now, the liquid part of blood, which I call the plasma, is like cytoplasm of the cell. It is the substance in which all the cells of the blood are suspended in. But it has another function. It helps in transporting materials like proteins and even glucose and even waste products. The plasma contains anything that cannot be moved, that cannot be carried by the cells. Now, when we move to the cell body of blood, we have 2 major blood cells, the red blood cells and the white blood cells. The red blood cells are reddish in color, as the name implies, and have the major function of transporting oxygen to different parts of the body. And to do this, it has an iron containing pigment or protein known as hemoglobin. Now, when blood is oxygenated, you can notice that blood is lighter in color. It has a light red color, almost pink color when oxygenated. And when deoxygenated, it is deeper in color, meaning that the blood is thick red when deoxygenated. Now let's move to white blood cell. White blood cells are fewer, but they perform an important function, which is defense of the body against germs and diseases. We have another type of blood vessels which are known as the blood platelets. These are much smaller than either of the red blood cells or white blood cells. And what they do is that they help in clotting wounds. They help in closing up injuries to prevent loss of blood. That's a very important function that the blood needs to have to prevent wastage. Now, I'd like you to note that the red blood cell has another name, and that is erythrocytes, while the white blood cell can also be called leukocytes. Now we move to lymph. Lymph is a kind of tissue or fluid that is found in specific parts of the body. And what they do there is that they help in defending the body against diseases. It mostly consists of plasma cells, plasma protein and other components, but they become specialized over time and they help to defend the body against germs and diseases. And with that, we move to the next, which is materials for transport. What does blood move? The first thing that blood moves around the body is nutrients. After food has been ingested and digested, they have to be transported to where they are needed. For instance, cells that need to perform the growth process take protein, and almost all the cells which need energy receive glucose into their system through the blood. Another thing that is transported is excretory waste or excretory products. And I want you to note that excretory product we're talking about is carbon dioxide, urea, and water. Another thing that is transported are minerals and vitamins. Now, most of these are transported through the plasma. However, the red blood cell transports oxygen and carbon dioxide both in and out of the cell. That is, oxygen is taken into the cells through the red blood cell, and carbon dioxide is taken out of the cells also through the red blood cells. And like I said, it's made possible by the pigment called hemoglobin. Now we move to transportation in plants. Transport in plants has to do with four major processes: uptake, translocation, transpiration, and movement of water to the apex. Now, let's talk about uptake or movement of water and mineral salts. This is made possible by a tissue known as xylem tissue. Xylem is present from the roots to the tip of the plant. Now what happens is that the plant absorbs water into the roots from the soil, and this water has to be taken especially to the leaves, which need this water for the process of photosynthesis. This is made possible by a continuous tissue known as xylem that runs from the roots through to the leaves, where it's diffused to the different part of the leaves, which actually perform this function of photosynthesis. Now let's talk about translocation. Translocation is the movement of food substances, that's the products of photosynthesis, and other synthetic products of the plant, like proteins, like vitamins, like oils. They have to be moved to other parts of the plant, and this is made possible by the phloem tissues. possible by the phloem tissues. Thirdly, we'll talk about transpiration. Transpiration is the movement of water vapor out of the plant, like when you transpire, when you breathe out, bring out water vapor. Now we're discussing the movement of water to the apex. Like we said earlier, water gets into the plant through the xylem. The xylem absorbs water from the soil through osmosis. Now this same xylem transports the water from the roots to the apex. It uses a plethora of methods, including capillary uptake and transpiration pool. This capillary uptake is dealing with the pressure within the xylem that allows water to be moved upward. And transpiration pool simply talks about the fact that water has been lost by the plant and needs to be replaced. So these two factors help in pulling water towards the apex, that is the leaves of the plant. And that is all for transportation in plants. We're going to be treating some past questions now, and I believe we'll have a better understanding. Now this question states, which of these is incorrect about the veins? A. It carries blood to the heart. B. It carries blood in low pressure. C. It has no valve. And D. It has fairly thick walls. And the answer is D. It has fairly thick walls, because it does not have fairly thick walls. And the question states that which of these factors is incorrect. The vein has no thick walls, and that is the right option. Second question. Urea is transported in the plasma of blood from A. Intestine to kidney. B. Liver to pancreas. C. Lungs to liver. D. Liver to kidney. The correct option is D. Liver to kidney. Urea is produced by the breaking down of proteins in the liver and transported through blood to the kidney, where it is finally ingested into the environment. The third question states, a damage to the vein causes A. Blood to flow in different directions. B. Ejection of blood under high pressure. C. Blood to flow out under low pressure. And D. Blood to clot inside the vein. Now the right option is C. Blood to flow out under low pressure. I told you that blood in the vein flows under low pressure. Blood is pumped into the vein under low pressure. So if a cut happens to the vein, the blood flows out under low pressure as against the arteries where it flows out under high pressure. Fourth question. The process by which plants convey food to different parts of the cells is called A. Nutrition. B. Absorption. C. Circulation. And D. Translocation. And the answer, as you should know, is D. Translocation. Food and other nutrients produced in the leaf are transported to other parts of the plant through translocation. The final question. The oxygenated blood from the head first enters the heart through the A. Right auricle, B. Right ventricle, C. Left auricle, and D. Left ventricle. And the answer is D. Left ventricle. And we said it because we should know that blood flows into the heart, especially deoxygenated blood flows into the heart through the left ventricle. So it doesn't matter where it's coming from. So long as it is not coming from the lungs, it has to enter through the left ventricle. And with that, we've come to the end of this lesson. We would like you to go below and check for our advisory and also solve some quiz questions that have been added to the lesson. See you next time.